This story is called The Smiling Cat. I remember the first time I saw him. I was taking a night walk like I usually do. I was never scared to go out at night. My neighborhood never had any crime bigger than shoplifting or speeding. I was taking a walk through a local park, and I just sat down on a bench underneath a lamppost. This dark black cat walked out in front of me. I thought I heard him purring, and he didn't seem like he was going to hurt me. So I reached out and started to pet him. He meowed and made cute little noises and purred. He began to purr louder and brushed up against my leg as cats usually do. He opened his mouth not to meow, but he showed me his teeth, like he was smiling just for a second. Then he closed it. Something made a rustle in the bush up ahead, and he bolted off. It was getting pretty late, so I started to walk home. I got to my door, and right as I put in my key, I heard a meow from right behind me. I turned around, and there was that same cat, sitting up, looking right at me with those big green eyes. It was a scary green, almost neon. Now, I know you're not supposed to feed wild animals, but I couldn't help it. He looked hungry. I went inside and got a small plate and put some slices of ham on it. I opened the door to give it to him, but he was gone. So I set the plate down right outside my front door. I made a psst psst sound that almost every cat comes to, but there was no trace of him. After I went to bed, it was around 11:30. That night I woke up to something tapping on my window. I would have been a bit scared had I not been sleepy to comprehend anything. I turned over in my bed to see the same cat sitting up with those big green eyes, right on my windowsill. He was definitely smiling now. I could see the slightest hint of white near his mouth, and his teeth were barely showing. His tail was flailing happily like it had a mind of its own, and bouncing against my windowsill in the process. I didn't notice at the moment, but I did realize something later that day. I always sleep with my blinds closed and my curtains over the window. But when I saw the cat, the curtains were parted and the blinds were up. I woke up that day not remembering that sight, and I got ready for my usual day. Fast forward a few hours. I don't want to bother with the details. I left my work office, not 30 minutes away from my house, and there, in the parking lot, right near my car, was the same cat, sitting and smiling, with those green eyes that looked even bigger, looking at me. At this point, I knew something was up, so I called animal control, and they came and caught him. When they were taking him away, he seemed to be staring at me with his eyes narrowed, like he was plotting to kill me for giving him away. I had a lot more peace of the mind for the rest of the day, until that night. I didn't walk that night. I was a bit unnerved about that cat. In fact, I don't even think I even left the house for the rest of the day. Right before I fell asleep, I could have sworn I heard pawing at my bedroom door, but I dismissed it as my laundry machine, a mouse, or some other common sound. But that morning, I woke up to something terrifying. The same cat was laying right there at the end of my bed, asleep, with that smile on its face. I could even see a few teeth that were so long they were sticking out of its mouth. I had enough. I knew I would probably have animal rights people down my throat about what I was going to do, but I didn't care. I grabbed that cat by the neck. He didn't even scream or thrash around like a normal cat would. I threw it into my backyard and beat it to death with a shovel. Throughout the whole 10-minute process, he didn't even meow or hiss even. When I finally regained control of my thoughts and actions, the cat was barely recognizable. His front legs were broken, his right ear was torn, his ribs were demolished, and his face had a huge dent in it. I couldn't believe what I had done. I didn't have to go into work that day, so I put his mangled corpse in a box drove far out of the city, and buried it in the forest near the side of the road. Do you know why? Because I'm a jerk. I was really shaken up about this. How had that cat got inside my bedroom, let alone my house? I didn't want to think about it. I got some lunch from a fast food restaurant and went home to take a nap. I was exhausted, and it was only 12:30. I guess I'll sleep throughout the rest of the day, but I wish I slept longer. I woke up on my own and was immediately compelled to look out my window and saw something that scared me for the rest of my life. It was that cat, with all of his damaged body, smiling even larger than before, staring right at me. His eyes were not bright green anymore. They were pitch black, as if his pupils had enlarged to his entire eye. He looked at me and started to dance, his broken limbs flailing about in an unnatural manner. His left leg was still bent the wrong way, and his ear was still torn. I screamed for my life and ran, got in my car, and drove away from that city as far as possible. Now I'm trying to start a new life in a new state, and I'll be damned if I ever interact with any wild animals ever again. One day I came home from my new job and went to my bedroom. I saw something on the bed. It was that cat. He looked brand new, but his eyes were still pitch black. He opened his mouth and smiled.